We are back at the OETC 17 conference here in Columbus, Ohio, and with me is Anthony Luscre. Did I get that?
That's correct.
Totally okay.
Yes, that's right.
I got it. And Anthony is recently retired, so you can give us the broad brushstroke of educational technology. But you've been doing a lot of staff development, technology integration with schools. So tell us about your past role, and then also tell us about your new role and your website, ztlearn.com.
Okay. I've been involved in education for about 20 years. I come from a background with biology and chemistry, medical technology, and electronic technology. And I got involved with computers and worked as a technology coordinator for a district back in the ancient days when there was one of us in a giant district. And did that in a couple places. Then I got involved at Spark, where I did exclusively integration, technology integration, along with Eric. And we basically created havoc for about 2.5 years. I'm very much one for disruption in education. I don't think you're really learning unless you're being disrupted. So I'm one of those disruptive learning people.
Can you kind of define that for those who haven't heard that term before? I know it's pretty popular now. But
well, my broad definition is, I always tell teachers, if you feel comfortable with what you're doing, your past, not about their future. So I think a lot of times teachers need to stretch themselves, get involved in new materials. And one big thing I talk a lot about, I actually have a presentation called Teach Above Your Head. There's no way that you're going to be able to get teachers in a school district to teach things like advanced programming. There's no money you could pay to get someone like that. Or you're not going to get someone in a very specialized medical area to come in. So teachers need to be willing to give up some of that authority figure and work more as a mentoring figure. Give the students a pathway, give them resources, give them a set definition of what they need to accomplish. So a lot of times I'll say, what did you learn this year? And they'll look at me and say, you mean, what did I teach this year? I said, no, what did you learn this year? And that's what I think really is disruptive. I think we need to get out of the idea that you're a teacher and that you're just teaching one way. In the medical profession, one of the big things was everyone did professional development, whether you were a custodian or a brain surgeon. It was always the same thing: was see one, do one, teach one. And unfortunately, in education, we need that third leg of it out, to teach one, because that's really the best way to prove competency, is when you're able to teach something to another person. So that's another one of my disruptive things, is talking about teachers having students actually go teaching. And I don't mean show and tell. I mean really teaching at the same level or higher level. They have an infinite amount of time to prepare compared to most teachers, so give me an assignment far enough in advance, I expect quality teaching out of it.
You've had a long career, I'm assuming, and seen the trends come and go. Put your crystal ball in action here. Where do you see education going, or where would you like it to go? Maybe those aren't.
I see a couple things. I'm not sure whether we're going to go that way or not. I think we're going to see a change in high schools. I think one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to shorten high school considerably, secondary type of situation, or we're going to lengthen high school and tack on that post-secondary experience within the high school setting. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see either 2-year high schools or 6-year high schools are two of the possible models. I'm not sure which route we'll go, but really, most traditional schools now, senior year is sort of a wasteland for a lot of students, especially high-performing students, because they've met all the requirements. They're not challenged. Now, some schools are very forward-looking and have mentorship programs and other things along those lines, and they make a huge difference. So I think we're going to see traditional K through 12, 13 years of teaching. I know I went through the first change when I was way back in the ancient days when I was a student. Kindergarten was an option, and it remained an option for quite a while. And then we finally got around to the point saying, we need to have students prepared when they come into first grade at a certain level. And I think we're starting to see that now. We're expecting students to come out of high school at a certain level, and sometimes we're wasting time.
Do you see, you mentioned medicine a while back in your other question. Do you think one of the things that people have said is that education and medicine are the two industries that are going to be digitized, or professions that are going to be highly digitized. That with education, I mean, are those two on the same track? I know, when your doctor comes in to see you now, they've got a computer and that sort of thing, but I think it's even bigger than that. Things like using 3D printing for operations and that sort of thing. But if we bring that to education, do you get a sense that education is ready to latch onto that? Maybe the OER, the open education movement, maybe what Google's doing? I think
OER is a big part of it. I think one of the other big factors is adjustment in the way we do teaching. We need to move more into curation, active curation, not just curation of facts, but curation of higher level concepts. And that's the same thing that's been happening in medicine. That's what's made digitizing difficult. Turning medicine, which is a very fluid field with not sharply defined points. It's more of an analog field as opposed to a digital field when you think about how the information is distributed. And the movement analog field and the digital field requires some expertise. I think that's why it's a little bit difficult for both education and medicine to move into a highly digitized area with the current concept. I think what we need to think about more is the fact that we're going to be looking at curation, we're going to be looking at retrieval of information. I think those are two really big things in both areas. If you could not search accurately, adequately, effectively, and analyze the information you find, both in medicine and education, you have a large risk of either, in the case of education, getting misinformed, in the case of medicine, killing someone.
Both of those are dangerous.
Yes, both of them.
But one is
fatal. One is terminal, one is a slow death.
Yes. So tell us what you plan on doing now that you're retired, and tell us about this great website. I've been on it before. It's amazing.
Well, I'm going to continue to maintain my website, and it's a web resources site. My colleague Eric Kurth was nice enough to give it its name. The first time you looked at it and saw the jumbled mess that I created with enormous amounts of resources, he called it the Web Resource Hoarder site. So I adopted the name. I guess, it was the best flattery. So I adopted the name Web Resource Hoarder. And recently when I retired, I moved it over to a new domain. So now it's located at the domain learn.com. No ing on the end of learning, because that was going to be another $90 a year for the address. Yes, yeah. It's remarkable how the addresses are more valuable when they have certain things. So everything's been moved over to ztulearn.com. And I'm going to continue to maintain the site. If you've not been there before, it has a ton of information on searching, media literacy. Those are the really big standalone pieces. But then a whole section for each content area. I call them literacies. So there's a whole section on mathematical, scientific, language and textual literacy. Each of these probably have conservatively 200 plus links on them, which 1,000 links by the time you're done. So what I do is a lot of curation. All the materials on my site have a couple of requirements. One, they have to either be free and proportionally content free. So I don't put anything on there where you're forced to pay for something. All the materials I create myself are under common creative copyright. And so I always do everything with attribution, but I allow free use of it. So I'm real big about the free aspect of things, and so I maintain my site the same way. I'm going to continue to do that. On the other hand, the other thing I'm probably going to continue to do is I love teaching people. I love doing professional development, so I'll probably continue to do that on a consulting basis. So I love having an opportunity to come in and do professional development. And one of the things I learned way back a long time ago, the further away from home you are, the more authoritative you are. When I would go speak at FUTC, everyone would hang on my word. If I was speaking in the district I worked at, I'd have a hard time getting anyone to show up even at the session. And so it's remarkable. So remember that, guys. If you want to get more authoritative, just move further away from where you live. And all of a sudden, you become authority on the subject because you're the person from outside. And I've leveraged this before. In fact, when I was in a district before, I would exchange training where I would go do a training for another district, and they would send their person to come do training in our district, and we both would then be experts in the field. We both have a very attentive audience. But I do plan on continuing training. I just I've always loved teaching people things. I've never been a teacher, but as my wife says, I'm always helping someone learn something. So that's been the case in my entire career.
Attending some of the sessions, keynotes, learning yourself?
Yes, I have a whole page on my website. I learn something new every day, and it's a firm model that I believe in. My wife and I have this game we play when we're traveling, and it's sort of fun. She tries to stump me with a subject I can't intelligently discuss for 5 minutes, so I have to keep ahead of her. So I can talk about conic crossfits for about 3.5 minutes. But if you name a field now, I can pretty much get by for about 5 minutes, and that's my goal, is to be able to have knowledge level. So I never have had a situation where I said, this is boring, I don't want to learn it. It's always been, well, if this is boring, maybe I'm not learning all about it or knowing what I need to learn about it. So I don't ever see anything as too trivial to learn or too esoteric to learn. I tend to be very esoteric in my taste and in my learning. I mean, I love to do some things that don't really go together. I love to cook, but I won't bake anything, because baking requires you following recipe. Cooking allows me to be experimental, investigate things. So that's one of the things. I'm also involved in amateur radio, ham radio, so that keeps me rather busy. This is actually why I do this, because when I was a kid growing up, I loved maps, and I realized fairly quickly that I couldn't travel everywhere that was on the maps. So I found out about amateur radio and the fact that I could talk to people all around the world. But once I got my amateur radio, I started keeping track of all my contacts. We call that a log. At that time, computer logging was just coming into effect, so I had to learn about computers. So indirectly, the reason why I'm doing computers right now is because I love maps when I was a kid.
Awesome. So learning all the time, I think that's the secret, right?
Learning all the time.
To life.
Yes. I think that is a really big thing, and I see people who stop learning and things get difficult for them. Back to what you have if you're not learning something new.
Well, thank you for stopping by, Anthony, and good luck. I look forward to hearing adventures through your website.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right,
it's been fun.